Hello, welcome to Buffzone, sponsored by Liquor Mart, the source for all of your tailgating needs. Kyle, we gave the Buffs a lot of grief over their miserable non-conference play. Time to give them a little props for winning on the road to open Pac-12 play in dramatic fashion. Fourth quarter comeback at Washington State. You were there. Your thoughts on that game?
You know, Ryan, it struck me as we were coming in here today that last week at this time we actually kind of toyed around with the idea, at least I did, of wearing a bag over my head a la Neil Welk in 2006 on Buffzone. The Buffs looked so bad in those first three games, and then they turned it all around in the fourth quarter at Washington State, and you know, it was a tremendous win. I don't think you can really sell the Buffs short. And you know, we should give them credit for the way they played, and the coaching staff especially for it's remarkable, if you ask me, that the coaching staff was able to take a team that had gotten just totally shelled, lost by 55 points to a Mountain West Conference team the week before, and somehow in the space of a week they were able to kind of rebuild that team and get it to go out and not give up when it got down again the following week, and both games on the road. And I just think you know, the coaching staff deserves a lot of credit for that win, and especially in a week when everybody was railing against the coaching staff. So it was a pretty remarkable performance to me. Having said that, I think this team still has a ton of issues, and we'll still have some pretty rough days here in the future, you know, with some tough games coming up, and it starts this week with UCLA.
Well, I tip my complimentary Pac-12 hat to John Embry on this one. The guy, his demeanor was excellent in his press conference last week. He answered the tough questions. He showed a lot of passion. He pulled out all the stops last week. He met with every player for 10 minutes individually. With help from the video department, they put together an inspirational video that they played Friday night with Buffs like Chad Brown and Alfred Williams, telling the new guys, who frankly are very young, most of them, and weren't at the Utah game, a lot of them, what it means to win on the road and what it means to be a Buff for the rest of your life, not just when you're playing football. And I think emotionally, and you include moving Eric Bieniemy down to the sideline, emotionally they stuck with it and they believed and they rallied back in the fourth quarter. And I'm not saying they're going to go to a bowl game this year, but I think in a couple years, when they do get things going, assuming they do, I think they will look back at that game as the one that got the ball rolling, so to speak.
Yeah, that's very possible. The UCLA Bruins come to town this week. They have a little bit of strange stuff happening around their program with first-year coach Jim Mora barring media and even his own sports information staff from attending practices because it's a security risk or something. I think he's kind of bringing a little bit of a NFL mentality to you know, the way he wants to approach his program and dealing with people and stuff. I'm not sure that it's going over very well and it's going to work long term if he continues to take this approach. I mean, definitely not making him a popular guy, but you know, UCLA has had its issues. It looks pretty darn good against Nebraska a few weeks back, and then, you know, it gets upset by Oregon State, and nobody thought much of Oregon State to begin the season. Obviously, they've now beaten two ranked teams and look to be pretty good, but UCLA, I think, comes into Folsom Field on Saturday with a lot of questions to answer about itself.
Yeah, I know this is blasphemy on this particular website, but I think Rick Neuheisel deserves a lot of credit, A, for what he left Gary Barnett in terms of the talent that was available in 2001 at CU, but B, Jim Mora Jr. inherits a very talented roster. Hundley, the quarterback, is amazing. He's a redshirt freshman. Kudos to Rick for not burning that redshirt last year and trying to save his job with this kid. And, you know, if this kid played last year, I think Rick's probably still there. So they're set up really well for the future with this quarterback, with a dynamic running game, with an amazing tight end in Joseph Fourier. And I watched that Nebraska game, at least the second half, and I was blown away by their defensive line that night. So CU's going to face a team with a lot more talent this week, but, you know, it's at some point they need to stand up to a better team at home and defend Folsom Field with an upset. And I think it's going to be an interesting game. Obviously, UCLA is a big favorite.
Yeah, I'm going to go with UCLA in this game just because I think they have the superior defense. They're going to shut down the Buffs. I think it'll be a difficult day again offensively for the Buffs. I'm not saying the Buffs won't score some points, but I think UCLA defense will win the day there. And then you know, that talent that you speak of on the offensive side of the ball for the Bruins. And, you know, we haven't even mentioned Jonathan Franklin, who's leading the Pac-12 in rushing, and so he's another weapon that the Buffs are going to have to contend with. And I just don't see the Buffs shutting all that down and coming through with a victory. Maybe they'll surprise us, but I'm going with UCLA this week.
Yeah, I am too, just mainly because I don't like that UCLA is coming off a loss that left a bitter taste in their mouth. CU's got to, for the first time in a long time, put the euphoria of a great win behind them instead of putting a loss behind them. So I just think it sets up well for UCLA. But I've been wrong most of the year, and hopefully for John Embry I am again. And if so, we'll talk about it. We'll see you next week.